All right, here we go. I'm not going to do slides or anything else for this. I'm basically going to go through as quickly as possible, as efficiently, effectively, and ecologically as possible to make sure that you can actually get the most out of this for the short amount of time that I want to take up in your day, so that you can actually get back to whatever you were doing, whether it was work, family, or working with student athletes, and continue to add value and deliver and enable the right things in their life. So just to recap, before we started, probably you saw something already, I'd imagine, that piqued your interest or got you thinking, that sounds like something that might be of use for me, or for my student athlete. And you probably saw something like, I was talking about the jailbreak, busting people out of their own belief systems that end up kind of like jailing them, so to speak, imprisoning them from being able to accomplish what they're hoping to accomplish, because they're locked in this system that's not going to allow them to, because it doesn't have a way out from there. So you've got to figure out how to change that. Then also we were talking about how a lot of people believe that their current coach, whether it's at high school or on their club, is going to be the sole person that allows them to or not to get to their dreams. Because a lot of people say, well, this coach has never coached somebody at this level or doesn't consistently do that, and they think, okay, well, I'm stuck with this coach is the only coach that's going to impact me, and I don't have any other way of doing it. That's kind of the victim-like mentality. And then you have or they're worried about, oh, my school's so small, I don't get exposure. And that was the case kind of many years ago. It seems like forever ago. That's actually kind of the way it was when I was in high school, back in the early 90s, late 80s. And it was kind of like, it was very difficult to get recruited because, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all these other things, social media. It was much more difficult to actually get out. It was almost like more socialist of a way, but now they're like social in networking, and it's a lot easier. So coming from a small school is really not, it's not really a limitation, it's an opportunity. It's just a matter of you figuring out how to use that. And then the other two, one, people were talking about, well, this kid's not talented enough, or the IQ's not high enough. That's just that's one circumstance, or that's one factor in the whole thing, and it's not anything to really limit you. It's just, okay, that's knowing where you are, and then knowing where you want to get, and then in the way you got to put in that strategy and the tactics going to help you get there. So you don't have to, it's not a limitation, it's just it's the fact, addressing the brutal facts and then moving forward. Not very complicated. And then the third thing that we talked about, and then we'll get to the stuff that we're trying to talk about today, was people think that they either have enough, more than enough time, or they don't think they have enough time to really have an impact on their future, and so they don't start, or they don't invest the appropriate amount of time and energy or resources to actually get to where they need to get in order to be able to kind of catapult themselves up to their goal. So those are the three things really that kind of are the limitations that we broke up in just like, I think it was like a 6-minute video, and they are real. They're myths that really stop a lot of people. But I'm going to tell you about the three things that are the most important. Okay, if you're ready, I would have, if you can, have a pen and a paper, because you're going to want to write these down. These are the things that also stop people from, the easiest way to put it is this. I tell people, in order to be massively successful in anything, one of the first things you have to be good at is getting yourself to take action. It's good to know why you would take action. For most people, it's either moving away from pain or moving towards pleasure. And sometimes it's some of the other 6 basic human needs that Anthony Robbins talks about when he talks about comfort, discomfort, love, contribution, all these other things. And so without getting too much into those, because that makes things, it's simple, but it makes it a little bit more complicated, and I won't be able to deliver this in a short period of time. So let's jump right into the first one. And again, we're talking about making sure that you need to be able to sell you on investing in you, and that it's worth it. and whether that's as a parent, coach, a teacher, or trainer, because you're going to have to be able to have that same conversation, that same dialogue with the student athlete. Because the biggest challenge for student athletes is they don't sell themselves on themselves being worth their time and energy consistently to invest in their future now. They'd much rather do these other things that they think that they're entitled to, want to do, and that it's worth it for them. And you can find enjoyment in the other stuff, but the bottom line is it's worth it. So the irony here is the actual first thing, and this is a sales video. This is a sales video on selling you on you and selling your student athlete on themselves. That's the most important thing that comes out of this whole thing. The first one is you have to get yourself and also the student athlete to see the value in something. If the student athlete doesn't see and you don't see the value in something, chances are they're probably not going to invest in it, or they're not going to invest in it intentionally, or they're not going to invest in it consistently, or they're not going to personally invest in it, meaning they're going to get kind of somebody else to do it. And that's okay. It's okay to delegate some things, but some things also, in order to get the reward, you have to kind of put in the sweat equity. One of the examples I like to give, kids might not understand this as much as an adult, but Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. One of the seminars that I watched was, I remember, and this comes up in his book, and this comes up in his dialogues with people, but he equated like, okay, when people get enough money that they can pay other people to do things, sometimes the husband or the wife doesn't give the respect to the person or the credit to the person who paid for something to be done. They give the credit to the person and the emotion to the person who does it. What does that mean? Okay, so let's say you break a door and then you hire somebody to come and fix it. That person that fixes it then kind of gets the emotional feedback or the emotional reward for having actually done the work. And the thing is, and that's all well and good, and that's okay, but it's not necessarily fair, but it's real. So it's important to understand where those situations where you have an opportunity to invest and you're going to be able to get that return on it and that emotional return, that you do so. So like that first one about understanding value is really, really important. Now, there's a lot of student athletes in the world today that don't understand value from a standpoint of investing in it, and they don't understand like the return on it. And it can come from both sides of the track, so to speak. You have very, very affluent and wealthy families where the children won't understand value because they didn't have to sweat for it, they didn't have to earn it, and so they're unaware of what that looks like, what the worth is, what the real net value of something is. And then you have on the other side where certain individuals that are in a state of scarcity or lack, they don't understand value either because they don't feel like they can earn it. They don't feel like it's even a possibility for them. So it's very difficult to understand value from either side of those situations. So those are the two situations too where we see the most dysfunction when they have success. Because if they don't understand the value over here with a lot of money, they might lose an awful lot really quick. And over here, when they become wildly successful, they might mismanage that success and or self-sabotage because, again, they don't understand value. So understanding the value and the opportunity of a situation really is important. And getting crystal clear on that with somebody and having a dialogue with the student athlete or even yourself about, do I understand the value in this? I'll sit down with some of our clients before we're getting started and I'll first say, does the student athlete want to do this? And then I'll question them almost like, they're being interrogated because I want to see if they truly are invested. If they're not truly invested, the chances of being successful are very difficult. I mean, we can even put in the right habits and everything else, the right framework, but if they don't understand the value of something, they're definitely not going to get the same return on investment. because they're not fully investing. They're just kind of going through the process. And you can even make progress by going through the process, but you're not going to make as much without that passion and without that genuine interest. So, and hunger is kind of in there too. You know, when you understand value, you get kind of like, you get a hunger for it. So you'll hear people like Eric Thomas talk about, man, you got to be hungry. And I think he got it from some other people that have come before him that talk about hunger. And I'm not thinking of the person right now, but there's one of the great motivational speakers and human performance professionals that always says, "Oh, you got to be hungry. You got to be hungry." That's it too. You got to be hungry. And if you're hungry, you understand value, because you're hungry for something and you value that. Then that's where that hunger comes from. And that's that drive that I want to X. So value, boom. Value is number one, and it is monster. So many people, they a lot of times they think that the issue is price on something. They're like, oh, that's too expensive for me. Well, it might not be too expensive for you, but if you understood the value. Chances are you probably don't understand the value. Most issues with price on things or the amount of investment that it's going to take isn't an issue on whether or not they can do something. It's whether or not they will do something because they value the worth of something. And so that's really important. Might sound simple. It actually is pretty simple. But unfortunately, once you start digging in there, you might find situations where like they believe something that's not true, and then you got to get into breaking that belief down and getting it real clear to them that that's one of their beliefs, and that's what's setting them up for failure. And so if they can knock that down and then build up a new belief that's going to fulfill whatever that one was giving them for a positive feedback, even though it was a lot of negative too, you're going to be better because it's going to be more sustainable. Because you, again, like if there's a bad habit or something, you can't just like pull the bad habit out of there. It was doing something positive. You're going to have to replace it. And the same thing goes with beliefs. So you got to make sure that you really look at like the whole structure around their value concept. Number two is people don't understand timing of things. And the word I use here is urgency. I'm not trying to rush people. It's not about rushing somebody. It's about, it's not a fraternity or sorority. We're not rushing. But at the same time, it is kind of the same thing, because you are like getting clear on something and understanding what you have to do, when you have to do it, and then that fact that it's going to have to be done consistently. So people don't understand urgency. They think, oh, I've got time for that. Or they don't understand urgency on the flip side, and they over magnify the situation, and they think, oh my gosh, I missed out on the opportunity. If I do something right now, it's not going to matter because I'm not going to get the same return on my investment. So I should probably just give up. We see this a lot with kids that we don't get to, or parents we don't get to, coaches, teachers, trainers, until like the student athlete is already a senior. And then they believe like, oh, I didn't make my bed, now I got to lay in it, kind of a thing. But they don't understand the facts, the brutal facts of a situation. They don't understand with clarity what their options are. They think, oh, well, my grades are bad at this point. I'm just going to have to pick this like crappy school. And it might not even be a crappy school, but just crappy school in their mind. But like, I'm going to have to go here. I wanted to go here. Many times they still have the option to go to the other school, but they're not aware of it. Nobody's been there before or done that. Nobody can really sit down and shape out, craft a plan and a course of action and show them what that journey is going to look like, and the amount of time and energy, and sometimes energy meaning money too, that they're going to have to put towards it to get there. But again, if it's worth it, if there's value there and you understood that, then there's the sense of urgency we can figure that out. But there has to be that sense of urgency. So if you're a senior and you haven't already figured out where you want to go, or where you wanted to go, you realize that at this point you didn't do the work necessary to qualify yourself, to pre-qualify, to do that prerequisite to actually put yourself in that situation, you're going to have to change what you're doing, and you're also going to probably have to take some massive action to make sure you put yourself in a better position to actually move forward. Now, that could mean you got to go to a prep school. That could mean you got to go to a 2-year school. That could mean you might have to you might have to graduate a 2-year school in order to be able to qualify for this. So it's important that you get really clear on the value first, and then secondly, understand urgency, but understand it within a relative perspective of the overall situation. Don't just, don't over magnify something to the point where it paralyzes you. It needs to, like, the value needs to incite a decision, and urgency needs to, push action. These are the things that are really, really critical as you're moving forward. So 1, value. 2, urgency. Now we're going to get to 3 already. Number 3, and this is critical too, equally critical. When either the parent, the student athlete, or the coach doesn't see a clear goal, and it has to be framed properly, they don't see a clear goal that's believable to them, they usually fail. Why? Why do they fail? Because they haven't shaped things in a way that they believe that they can get to, that they can acquire. You'll see this often with people who don't understand the reality of current things. You could sit down and have a conversation with somebody before Apollo, the Apollo mission, and they might not believe that anybody could ever get to the moon or be on the moon or whatever. Then you go like 15 years later, you'll have people who probably, oh yeah, we can get to the moon, of course, yeah. I mean, you got to be in NASA, you got to be in the space program. Go another 15 years forward, and then people are starting to think, hey, you know what? I could be a citizen, and I might be able to pay for a private company to actually take me to the moon. If you look backwards, what did the moon change? No, the destination didn't change. Our ability to get there changed, and the believability, as it relates to the information that's available now, that's changed. Okay, so understanding, sometimes it's almost blind faith in a situation that's necessary, but that can also be dangerous, because if it's not something that you're skilled enough to attempt, well, obviously the results can be fatal. So it has to be within that skill to challenge ratio that we talk about from Stephen Kotler's flow. It's really, really important that you understand here that I'm not saying that you don't have a goal and that's what your problem is, but it's a clear goal that's believable. And here's the thing, it has to not only be a clear goal that's believable to really be at the optimized level, but it also has to come from, and this is important, has to come from the point of origin, the place of birth has to be at least partly, at least 50% from the student athlete in order for you to really get to the peak of your potential. Why? Because if you were told what to do, the majority, and I mean the vast majority of people, are not going to do as well as they could do, because it didn't originate from them. When somebody has at least a partial contribution to the thought or the belief or the goal or the journey, the destination that they've determined they're aiming for, they're trying to shoot for, if they haven't been a part of that, they don't have as much, whatever you want to call it, ownership, buy-in, accountability, whatever that is. They're just not a part of it. They haven't invested themselves into that belief that they're working towards, that reality that they're working towards. So they understood value, they understand urgency, and they have that clear goal that's believable for them that they set. And it's difficult because oftentimes other people in this sphere of influence will not believe the goal is possible. So here's another, this is going to be something that I share with you for free, that I tell all of our student athletes and parents. When you sit down to set a goal, there's some goals where they're like accountability goals. Like, oh, you tell people in your immediate circle, and like you telling people holds you accountable, so you work towards it. Those are okay for like not huge goals, typically. Most people aren't driven. They want to be proud of what they do. They want to be somebody that acts with integrity. These are all things that they want to. But if the goal is huge, and I mean huge, and other people have not accomplished this before, and you're from an area that doesn't believe this is really something that this area does, that this area can do. If you're saying, I want to go to Princeton, Harvard, whatever, Oxford, Nobody from your area has gone there that you know of, and it's like, oh, people around here don't do that. You might want to keep that goal to yourself. And I don't mean that to like be secretive, but the same thing goes for like if you want to be a Division I, I don't know, squash player or something. Whatever it is that you want to do, if somebody else hasn't done it before, you may want to, within reason, maybe tell like a parent that you know you can trust that's going to keep it to themselves, that isn't going to post it on Facebook or wherever. It isn't going to go tell them and gossip, down at the coffee shop or the tea shop. So keeping it to yourself sometimes isn't about that you're not going to have accountability. It's about the fact that you don't want to allow other people into trying to have to defend your goal. It's your goal. It doesn't have to be something that somebody else believes in. It doesn't have to be something that somebody else thinks you can do. That doesn't matter, okay? Let me say that again. It doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't even matter if the parent, the coach, the teacher, or the trainer believes that the student athlete can do something. It only matters if the student athlete believes it. And then if they make decisions, take appropriate actions, and create habits and a habitat that is consistent with something that can get them to the point where they can actually pre-qualify to put themselves in a situation where they might be able to accomplish that goal. That's all that needs to happen. You don't need to be like, oh, well, in order to do that, you're gonna have to get a perfect score on this. You're gonna have to be perfect. You're gonna have to be perfect. Okay, nobody's perfect. So you can shoot for the perfect, but understand you do not have to be perfect in order to achieve any of these things. Because nobody that I know of has ever been perfect. Nobody. So to say like, oh, you have to be perfect to get into Harvard or Princeton or Oxford or Yale or Stanford or Northwestern or Virginia or Duke or wherever, any of these incredible schools, it's not practical, it's not reality. You can shoot for it, but again, let's get back to what I was saying. A clear goal that's believable for the student athlete that was at least co-created by the student athlete. Because once they've invested in the time to generate that, they'll be more committed to the work that it's going to take to get there. And from time to time, I'll hear people say things like, do I have to do film study? Or do I have to retake my SAT? Do I have to really practice for my SAT? Do I really need to go to this extra ID camp? Or do I need to do this extra one-on-one coaching? Do I need to wake up at this time and follow a strict schedule for when I'm going to eat? Do I need to get this much sleep? Is it okay to go out and do this? Can I engage in this social activity? Whatever any of those things are, when you come to a fork in the road where you need to make a decision, you need to be really clear on values, beliefs, principles, and the filters of your life and the things that shape your life so that you're aware. And if you have an understanding of the value of an opportunity, and you understand the urgency of an opportunity, and you also understand the clear goal that you believe in, then you're going to work in a different way. You're going to make different decisions. You're going to take different actions. You're going to put yourself in different habitats and different environments. You're not going to willingly say, hey, you know what? Just for fun, let me go out and put myself into a dangerous situation where I might actually lose either the opportunity entirely, or at least for the time period, or I might lose traction on things. I might lose my leverage that I've worked so hard to get. And that doesn't mean that you live a guarded life, but you live a measured life. And you can do some wild things, that's fine. But the thing that needs to be the most wild is that wildly important goal, And you have to make sure that these three things that I've just talked about, that you deal with. And if you don't deal with those and you don't have somebody who's involved in your life, that's constantly keeping those things in check, and if you don't know how to get to whatever, like all the different places we have up on the wall, that we've gotten to before, whether it's Ivy League schools, we've helped student athletes get there, or whether it's just the highest level for Division I athletics, or Division II, or Division III, or whatever that clear goal was that was believable. At one point, there wasn't some belief there because the person typically, or their environment, the people that they're surrounded by, didn't know how to get there. That's where we come into play. And this is where I literally tell you, like earlier, you need to sell yourself on investing in yourself. You need to sell and get your student athlete to sell themselves every day on investing in themselves for their growth. This is right now where if you're really committed to investing in yourself to help better the student athlete, or if you are the student athlete and you're interested in investing in yourself to better yourself, to give yourself the chance, the opportunity to get to one of these places on the wall, and then to create, a wonderful life after that, then you need to take the time to invest in a strategy call with us, or a discovery call, or explore call, or whatever you want to call it. It's all the same thing. We're all sitting down for a few minutes, it's not very long, to really talk about what you're really looking at and what it's possibly going to take to get there. And then when we present that to you, at that point, you're making a decision. Is this something that I value? Because we can deliver. We know that. It's proven. Like, if you want social proof, just go ahead and look on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, from people saying thank you. Or you can just look at the wall behind me, like with all the logos. And it's not even all the logos. So, or you can, if you don't think I'm consistent with what I'm saying or what I'm doing, just look back at over the period of time. It's the same thing over and over and over and over again. And the reason why people fail is the same reasons. There's not like some new way people are coming up with to fail. And the 3 secrets are really helpful that I just told you, but you have to know how to put them in, in their own place. And you need to know how everything fits. And the problem is the value that we deliver with a sense of urgency and getting clear on that believable goal, they have to happen consistently. You have to have somebody hold you accountable and helps you be accountable to yourself, helps you believe in yourself sometimes when you're not going to, helps you see clear sometimes when it's foggy, helps you understand that on the other side of that mountain is a beautiful view. There might be another mountain there too. And we'll let you know about that when it's appropriate. We don't need to tell you about that in advance so you can get fearful of it and not take the appropriate action and then delay yourself. It's about being able to deliver on what you say you can deliver. We've always delivered with the athletes that decided they wanted to invest their time and energy with us. And especially if their parent does too. Or we start to get more of their coaches involved, their trainers involved, and help them see the way that they can help this student athlete. And the student athlete also has to, like we say, you have to be proactively coachable. And then you have to figure out how you can get more out of that coach, more out of that teacher, more out of that parent, and then vice versa. And get them, they don't have to believe in your goal, they don't have to know about your goal. They just have to believe that they can help you. And everybody can help you. But it's understanding like where somebody's place is, where their timing is, and how they're going to impact you, and understanding risk and reward of things that is massively impactful. So I know this was helpful if you paid attention, and if you do anything with the information, it's definitely going to move that needle forward. It's going to get the flywheel going. If you want to get the flywheel going so crazy that it comes right off, the track and just goes flying, that's where we come into play. You can shoot me an email at tcutrie@yahoo.com, or you can shoot me a DM. You can on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, or you can go and just comment in the section below. That's fine too. Hey, shoot me a DM or whatever, Coach Kutry or Coach Todd or whatever you want, Mr. Kutry. It doesn't matter what you call me. It matters whether or not that you believe in yourself to actually take the time and the energy to invest. Because the thing is, the busting them out of their prison or their imprisonment is only part of it. But then once you get them out, helping them understand how to take that next step. It's like Shawshank Redemption. Some people get out of the prison, but they don't know what to do. Like all of a sudden, boom, you've got all these opportunities, but you don't know what it's like because these are all new opportunities for you. And some of them are things you didn't realize were even there. So like making sure you've got a guide there along the way that helps you is really, really transformative. And getting ready for college and then knowing how to take advantage of it then also creates your life after it. I don't know anything that's more impactful or empowering of a positive mentor / coach or teacher in a young person's life. And it's never too late to get involved, and within reason, it's almost never too early. Sometimes it might be more too early for the student athlete unless they're already in middle school or something, But it's not too early for the coach. It's not too early for their parent. It's not too late. So you can always get involved and take action now. So I hope to hear from you if you're committed and you're ready to take action. Shoot me a DM, send me a text, give me a call, send me an email. Look forward to working with you in the future. Have a great day.